We're going to come clean. We just wanted to make pee-pee poo-poo jokes, but what we discovered was much darker and disturbing. And nobody's talking about this. This year's Olympics has been labelled as one of the worst in recent memory. Some critics go as far as calling it an absolute show. This is because they found poop in the Seine River.
It's gross, man.
This is the first one.
So gross. This is the first poop joke.
Yeah. You should wait for number 2.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Halal Snack Pack.
But before all that, let's not forget how loud the media and critics were about the Qatar World Cup, nitpicking and fussing over every detail.
Where's that same energy when it's France? The fact that a genocidal apartheid entity is allowed to compete should be enough for you to understand.
Something else that you should understand is to please like and subscribe so we can grow the channel, Insha'Allah. Also, follow us on Instagram for more content. In any case, look at how hard they push the alphabet agenda.
What's that?
The group that took 20% of the alphabets for themselves, or should I say, they/themselves.
What's that, brother?
On the world's foremost sports competition, where humans in peak physical condition from across the globe come and compete, they chose to display peak degeneracy to the whole world in their opening.
Moving on.
Paris? More like Paris. Am I right? This is so bad.
Sure thing.
This is so bad.
You still laugh even though you think it's bad.
No, it's because it's so bad. It's actually good. Anyway.
After 8 years and $1.5 billion spent trying to clean the Seine River, it's still tested for unsafe levels of bacteria.
You had one job.
With one report finding the levels of E. coli 10 times above the acceptable levels. How?
10 times? Like how?
That's so gross.
Like
man.
you actively have to try and pollute it to get it 10 times above the acceptable levels.
If you didn't know, E. coli bacteria is often linked to fecal matter, which can cause diarrhea, UTI, sepsis, and all other gross stuff. It's almost as bad as something you might catch from one of those pee boxes in Paris.
Belgian triathlete Jolien Vermeulen, who swam in the river, she said, "I felt and saw things that we shouldn't think too much about."
You know how when you're in the water, in the ocean, and you're afraid of like your toes touching the grass?
Hello, how are you? I am under the water.
This was not grass touching their toes.
Honestly, who knows what's been in that river? Because it's been illegal to swim in since like the 1920s. That's like over 100 years of pollution, of dumping, of dumping. Now, we could go on and on about France and poo jokes.
Yep, we could.
But what we found researching the Seine River is much more disturbing. On the evening of 17 October 1961, men, women and children, French citizens of Algeria, peacefully marched towards Paris to protest a discriminatory nighttime curfew targeting Algerians in the Paris region. But the demonstration turned into a massacre. French police beat, killed, and threw between 200 and 300 Algerians into the Seine River. Yet the official report only mentioned 3 deaths. Sound familiar? Like we said before, the only stream mainstream media should be in is in the sewage stream. Or maybe in the Seine River. A historian says that the actual number of victims likely range from 150 deaths to 300. A man who was present at the time, Mhamad, recalls the sight of others being lined up and suddenly pushed to their deaths into the water below. Another man said people were falling like potato sacks before being picked up and thrown into the Seine River. Even the freaking macaroni admitted to this. No amount of money can wash away and cleanse the river of the crimes against humanity that France did to the Algerians. It's a river that will be forever stained with the blood of the Algerians. Moving on.
France banning its athletes from wearing the hijab just consistently shows that even on the biggest and most international stages, they will still find time to oppress Muslim women.
You can be a naked blue man with just some grapevines covering your nethers on display for the whole world to see, including children, but wearing a head covering for women is not allowed.
They always go on and on about inclusivity and acceptance. What they fail to mention is that their inclusivity and acceptance are only towards degeneracy and being perverts.
Meanwhile, a literal convicted rapist is allowed to compete in this year's Olympics. You can't make this up.
No.
Now, the opening of the Olympics. That topic has been talked to death at this point. Of course, the organizers claim that it wasn't actually a portrayal of the Last Supper or any religious connotations at all. But that's funny because there's been at least one contradictory report from a spokesperson saying that, yeah, they were referencing the Last Supper and that they weren't the first ones to do it. Either way, it's not as if it's below them to mock religion. If they can put a naked-ass blue man in front of children, they won't be afraid to mock religion. But this is where it gets even weirder. Instead of defending their religion, some Christians are saying they would never make fun of Muslims like that. They would never make fun of Islam like that.
Would they ever have dared mock Islam in a similar way? Would they ever have dreamed of mocking in this gross, public way a scene from the Quran?
First of all, Jesus, he's a respected prophet in Islam. So when they insult him, they're insulting Islam and Muslims. Secondly, that's your response. Instead of voicing your frustrations and defending your religion from the one who's actually attacking you, you go out and attack Muslims instead. That's literally like if a robber comes into your house, he beats you up and then he robs you, and then you stand there and say, they would never do this to my neighbor's house. Why is my neighbor not getting robbed? And of course people would bring up violence and whatnot. Come on, we literally just talked about France massacring people for protesting peacefully. Your history is full of blood and guts and oppression and racism and raping and tormenting and every type of degeneracy you can think of. So don't talk to us about violence when your history is full of it.
Now, it's not all bad news from this year's Olympics. People from all nations and lands came together, set aside their rivalries to boo the genocidal apartheid entity whenever they appeared, and chanted Free Palestine and raised the flags of Palestine.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
An Algerian judoka, Messaoud Driss, withdrew from his match against someone representing the blue and white flag of genocide and apartheid. Now, the official line is that he was disqualified because he missed weight, but he was over by 400 grams. These are highly trained judokas who train their whole life to be there at the Olympics. You think he can't shave off 400 grams? You can literally sign a rocket that will be rained upon sleeping children in tents and you will have no penalties against you. But say you protest against that, yeah, you're gonna get a lifetime ban.
Brain dead, man. Gee.
And people will say, why not just compete and whoop the guy? But in my opinion, what he did is way more powerful. He doesn't even acknowledge the competitor of this genocidal entity. That, in essence, is true boycotting, blacklisting, as he should do, and as you should as well. So continue to boycott and fight the good fight.
As always, a special thank you to our YouTube channel members:
Charlotte,
Nori,
Kari,
Ashley,
Mika,
Safirah,
MK,
Blue,
and Mhamad. Thank you guys all. We really appreciate you guys. And as always, please continue to make dua and donate where you can and use your voice for all the oppressed people of the Ummah, whether it's in Bangladesh, Sudan, in Gaza, in Palestine,
in Syria,
and anywhere and everywhere else they are living under tyranny and oppression. May Allah make it easy for them and grant them success in this dunya and akhirah. If you enjoyed what you just watched, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. It helps us out a lot. We upload every single week, and Insha'Allah we'll continue to post even more. Thank you for watching, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
yeah. Assalamu alaikum.